welcome. We in here. Welcome back to the Art Life Podcast with your host. I am D Muse. Make sure you follow me everywhere at IAMDMUSE, real last name, about this art life. Um, this episode is titled How to Break into the Art World, Part 2. I wanted to do a continuation from the first video that I did. If you have not seen the first video, go back. Make sure you watch that. Um, you don't necessarily have to do it before you do this one. Excuse me. Whew, it's a little late out here. Things like 1 a.m. or something like that. But um, I'm up and mine is going. And I wanted to finish this topic as well. So um, where we left off was basically kind of how to break into artist communities, whether it be local or non-local to where your home base is. And now I want to pick up, now that you're a part of that community, hopefully you somewhere, near the top, somewhere with notoriety, someone with notoriety, and people are looking forward to seeing your works and the projects you put out and events that you do or are a part of, and then it's a little easier to move. But if that's not the case, you should have at least, now that you're part of the communities, know some names, that names of people you can ask for because you asked around who was the movers and shakers, um, the placemakers, curators, all of that. Figured all that out while you were getting into these communities. Again, go back, watch the first video. You need that in your life. And now we want to get into some notable institutions that can look good on our CVs, that we can use to continually elevate our careers, right? And the thing about the art career is almost never an overnight thing or nowhere near it. It's usually a career thing, long thing, like 20, 30 years kind of doing this thing, um, really, before you get to anywhere where you might imagine you want to be right now. All your pieces going for multiple thousands and they going like you can't even make them fast enough. You're collected by institutions, museums, businesses. A lot of organizations have extensive art collections as part of their portfolios, and you might want to be in one of those. And just being kind of local and quiet doesn't necessarily get you there. And I was actually just talking to a gallerist about this maybe last week. And it's only my personal experience. I don't have every experience in the world, obviously. Sure, you might know somebody somewhere, but I don't personally know or haven't come across any gallerists either who know of any artist who has been collected um, by museums that has never appeared in any gallery ever. I Nobody that I know has seen it or knows of it. I haven't either. So things are kind of stepping stones. So let's step, right. Let's get some things on your CV. You can go and move on, just like in regular corporate world. You at one level, you get a raise, a promotion. You get a raise, promotion. I should put my hands in front so you can see what I'm doing. I'm all off the camera doing all that. You should raise and promotions and everything, and you climb the ladder. So it's somewhat the same, uh, but there's really no kind of positions and stuff set up like that. But it's just the way it works typically. So now that we're in the communities, um, we're building some support, some notoriety, a little fan base. How are we getting into the institutions that can help really solidify us, as career artists? Like, we're not here to dabble, we're not here to play. We do this because we can't stop doing this. Like, we're going to figure out some type of way to be creative, to produce creative expressions. And it's part of the fabric of who we are. Yeah, we might do some other stuff because we might not have figured out how to get this to totally pay the bills and have access so you can still live the lavish life that you want to live and that you deserve, artists. While we're figuring all that out, we still creating, right? So these steps show that. And then these are the type of things that investors and collectors, sometimes when people are the same, want to see, right? So first thing we're going to do is find where we can help. Now, of course, you can just go and write a proposal and propose an exhibition. It might be easier if you already have rapport with that gallery, just even from coming in there and supporting them from all the events and always talking to them every time you come in, and, and like they know you. You come in and you support another event. If you can find an artist that's already working with that gallery and you can get them to agree to do a duo show with you. I'm a big fan of duo shows. Solo shows are a little more difficult, and you typically need to have some type of following and fan base, collectors looking for you before you can do one of those. Or you're working with an institution that has all that already lined up and set up and everything for you, so you don't have to, really go into that. But the duo show takes some of the weight off of your shoulders, some of the stress and everything, and also allows for cross marketing, which I always love. So, for round numbers, I got 5,000 followers. This other artist has 5,000 followers. Guess what? 10,000 people are seeing what it is that we're doing because we're marketing each other. So I have, potentially access to these other 5,000 that I didn't have and I wouldn't have had, at least right now, just by doing it myself. So big fan of the duo shows, right? So if you can find an artist that's already working with somebody and get them to agree on it, you go and you pitch that gallery the proposal. Hey, love one of your artists. We're actually working together doing some shows. We would love to do it here. When can we make that happen? Next thing you know, you in there, you got a show, right? Um, you can. I don't recommend cold calling, um, or at least not asking for something the very first time you meet somebody. If you're gonna ask anything, ask how you can help or just offer some help. But not that it's never been successful. You typically want to warm up. A warm lead is much better than a cold lead, right? So warm them up, build some rapport, have them see your face around, support the different things that they have going on so they're familiar with you and become more comfortable with you, right? Maybe have some conversations about art in general and kind of show your expertise, show your passion, your experiences, and that might help you get in as well. But volunteering, if you can, is big. And you naturally start to talk about art, and it's gonna come up that you do art at some point in time. I promise you, and you can move it from there. But ideally, you want to meet somebody. This is how I do it. I might meet somebody first, have a conversation with them, kind of go wherever the conversation goes, and then from there, I typically prepare them for me sending them something, get permission for me sending them something. Say, hey, I was working on this, what you might want to say, yeah, you send it to me. All right, cool. Expect it around this time. And then I send it. And when I send it, especially if I have more than one contact form for them, say if I have their phone number, but they gave me the email to send whatever I was sending to them, I email them and then I text them, hey, send it over. One, you want touch points. So you want to contact or touch them as much as possible. um, and it helps you stay top of mind as well. It also reminds them to go check because they might not have checked it, or it might have went into a spam folder, um, and then they go and look because you told them to look for it. And they're like, oh yeah, it went to spam, or they go and check and they don't see it, and they're like, hey, yeah, I didn't get it. And then you're like, well, let me verify the email. And then you find out, it was a letter off, or I missed something, or whatever. Bam, send it again. It's all great. It's all great. Um, just doing it randomly cold where they never heard of you before and they wasn't expecting it. Again, not that it's not ever worked in the history of time. Very low probability. I don't recommend it because we're people and we're personal. So be personal and talk to a person. Deal with the person. If you can, you're gonna get further faster. Trust me. Um, Now, of course, got to touch on a couple of points like making sure this is the right space for you. It also could possibly be a timing thing. If they already got a bunch of things lined up, and you just kind of want to get a piece or two in and doesn't go with anything they have going on, you might have to wait. If you want to do your own show or whether it be a solo or duo or trio group exhibition, whatever it's going to be, that might take some time for you to get on the calendar, which is fine as well. But make your proposals. And it's easier to do this again if you're working with somebody who's they've worked with previously, and had a good experience with too, or they're currently working with now and have a good experience. But usually they'll check in with some of the artists that they might have. At least a percentage of those are typically local. And if you've done what you're supposed to do from video one, and got into the artist communities, those people are going to be like, oh, yes, I've heard of them. Um, I'm familiar with them, whether they've seen your work or not. You know, hopefully they remember your name. Hopefully you talk to them. Um, you can let them know if you're going to name drop. You can let them know, hey, I'm gonna go and talk to this person. You know what I mean? Is okay if I tell them you sent me and get permission to be like, yeah, go ahead. I have sometimes I send artists, sometimes I just mention artists, sometimes I know an artist that I want to vouch for is going somewhere where I might know somebody. I'll tell them to ask for that person and tell them I sent them or I told them to say hi to them. And thankfully, every situation is worked out well. They've always received a warm welcome. A lot of it has to do with my relationships, with people and how I deal with people. But as an extension of that, they get a warm welcome. They'll get some time to, for a spill, whatever it is they need to do. It ain't guaranteed is going down. This is just a recommendation. It might not fit with what it is that they want to do, even if it was fitting, previous to that conversation. They might be planning to change the direction in the future, and they just like no, because that's going to keep us on that same path. And so, where you might have fit before, you don't, and you'll see that if you continue to watch that. Oh, they changed their thing up, so yeah, so it makes sense why they said no to me. So every no is not a bad thing, but again, when you're prevalent, and consistent and showing up in these communities, it'll make the reception of your ideas and the projects that you want to do a lot easier. A lot easier. So, example, artist friend of mine that I work with, um, he's out of Philly. Shout out to Jack, and does a lot of things in Jersey now. And he, I don't know all the steps that he took, but I definitely saw him doing what I recommended in this thing. So, um, he would become an first observer, then he became part of shows, and now he's producing and curating his own art events and everything based on the relationships that he's made. And he created a fan base and following and supporters in Jersey, even though he's from Philly, and always posting the content, always shooting out the content, always emailing the content of everything that was going on. And then people in Philly like, hey, you look like you kind of popping out there. What's happening now? How could we now? How could we reproduce what's going on over there, over here, and things like that? And it jumped his notoriety locally in Philly as well. So now where he started a collective, back home where he's at and everything, and producing shows and working with organizations. And he really was able to do that because he went away from home first. Profit is not always appreciated at home. Got things jumping, got in the art community, um, got in the gallery through that. I think he's working on his second gallery right now, and really changed his trajectory of what he was doing with his art and providing opportunities for other artists as well. So, first step, go back to video one, figure out how to infiltrate these artist communities. Showed you some ways how to do that. Second, now while you're in there, you want to leverage those relationships you made into spaces that maybe some of those artists that you've met in this community have already been in, and now you need to get those under your belt as well too. They can help you get in, even if they don't actually talk to the people that are the decision makers. You can leverage the relationship somehow, some way, even if it's just off of, um, let's say you did a collaborative piece with them, or you went to the shows and you were like, oh yeah, I went to a couple of this person's shows. I went to a couple of XX shows, and they're like, oh yeah, we used to work with XX. We love XX. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, we have some similar styles. I was actually having a conversation with them, and we were saying this and that to each other and all that and the third, um, and how much they appreciate you, what you done for their career or whatever. I mean, don't start lying. Like figure out a way to spin it that's authentic. And if you were able to do that for them, I would love to work with you. And the conversation's like, he's like, oh, all right, cool. And then you go from there. So get into the artist community, then start to work on your local arts organizations. Nonprofits are typically, on average, kind of easier to get into because they already have a budget that's going to be there no matter what, as long as they do what they're supposed to say, as long as they do what they say they were doing. And then they don't have to gamble as much as who they work with, because they're going to get theirs regardless. So they're willing to take more chances. And if you can get them to take a chance on you, oftentimes it's easier to leverage that to get other people at different levels to take chances on you as well too. But write them proposals. Be professional. If you don't know how to write a proposal, you don't know what's supposed to be on it, what's the most effective language, sections, all of that, make sure you visit me, D-Muse. You go to imdmuse.com or DM me on Instagram at imdmuse, and we'll work it out. This is D-Muse, Beta Artist. Peace.